Hello and welcome to The Real Bottom Line, the podcast featuring entrepreneurs talking about their journey and all things entrepreneurship. My guest today is the great Graham Barlow, and he has exited 4 times. He's done a whole bunch of things, started companies, sold the companies, and now he's doing some really interesting things. So I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Graham.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
Oh, awesome. So you started your entrepreneurial journey, it looks like, in software. Are
I
you a tech
did, sort
head
of.
or like what got you into that?
Awesome question. So everyone usually assumes I'm a lot more technical than I am. I am really good at making friends with really good technical people.
Mm.
I started my journey in the gaming industry,
Ooh.
so doing virtual currency stuff before it was trendy and everyone was talking about it. We did it back when virtual currencies meant selling Neopoints on Neopets over eBay and items from Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 on eBay in essentially the black market for online items when everyone thought you were insane for paying money for a digital thing.
Well,
So that's how we got the
yes.
beginning.
I will say I understood very little of what you just said, but I'm assuming it's very, very cool.
Not at all. It was kind of the least cool thing possible to do back then because not only were you in the like echelons of you are a nerdy gamer, you were in the category of gamer that was paying money for things on the internet in 2000.
Oh,
That was not the cool time to do that.
no. And now in-app purchase, right? So, oh, okay. So, what was your first software company that you built from scratch and sold? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah. So the first one, like software company, is a bit of a I'm going to say partial misnomer in
Okay.
that we built the company around virtual currencies. We it was myself and a group of friends, and we essentially sold items from online games that we were playing. However, very quickly on when we were starting to do the company, it became really inefficient to play the games ourselves and sell the stuff we were finding or earning because games are hard to play.
Oh, so if
And
I were in
so
a game and I achieved a certain level, I could monetize that?
sort of, yeah. Let's assume for really basic layman terms,
Mhm.
let's assume you played solitaire,
Yes.
and every time you completed solitaire, you had a chance of getting a gold coin,
Hmm.
and so you would get a gold coin one every 100 times,
Okay.
and the gold coin was worth $10.
Okay.
You could play a lot of solitaire and slowly earn money,
Hmm.
or we wrote programs to play solitaire over and over and over and over again. And then at the end of the day,
You were
you just go
gaming the
check. You go, how
gaming
many
system.
coins do I have?
You were gaming the gaming system.
Yeah, and so we built really basic software
Yeah.
to play flash games for Neopets, to do basic things in Diablo, to do basic things in RuneScape and different games, and essentially collected the currency from that and then sold it on eBay because the inherent value was it would take you hundreds of hours to get the stuff. We were using bots and therefore didn't take us a ton of time, and we could sell it. We did that on kind of a one-to-one basis for a while, but eBay was a little bit of a pain to deal with on that, and honestly just doing individual transactions sucked. So 2 or 3 years into this, we kind of started to do essentially wholesale deals. So like we would just collect 2 months worth of currency and then sell it in one big transaction to one of the stores or vendors that was doing a better job selling to customers.
Hmm.
So yeah, that
So
was that was kind
you
of my
just added
first
a step into
foray.
into the sales channel, really.
Yeah, well, and sold it at half of what we would have sold on market,
Right.
but only needed to deal with one customer,
Exactly.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then
It's like the one
from
to many
there,
model,
exactly.
ahead of its time.
And this was, and again, this was all during a time where the vast majority of the population would think you were insane for paying for anything on the internet, and they're like, well, how do you even transact? It's like, well, you agree to terms. Depending on the level of trust, somebody sends money first, and then you meet up in a virtual environment, and you literally like hand currency back and forth. It was kind of wild. And so we did that for years and years. And then in 2006, near the end of 2006, we were doing it in World of Warcraft.
Ooh.
Um, and a bunch of legal issues started popping up for other companies in the US. There was one botting company that was selling their bots that got like charged criminally and went to court, and they were facing like a decade in prison for cyber crimes. It got really spicy. And so we opted to sell essentially everything we had in terms of intellectual property, just like the bots and the currency we had and the accounts we had, to one of the distribution companies that we were working with that was based in China that was not concerned. And
Was that an
so,
asset sale or was it a
I mean,
sale?
it was a here's our spreadsheet, here's a PayPal address, send us money, we'll send you access, have a good day. Yeah, and like keep in mind, this was also pre honestly anyone really figuring out what internet
Mm,
tax
right.
rules
Yeah.
were, trying to explain to CRA that I sold a bow in Diablo that was this bunch of pixels, but somebody paid me $500 for it. Was like, you did what for? Why? Um,
Well, if you think about it, the CRA and the regulatory bodies cannot keep up with advancements. If we looked at crypto and we look at AI and everything else, like they have zero idea how to deal with this
oh,
because it's not
neither
a
did we, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Like, it was all virtual money, all in PayPal accounts and other the different online wallets, and like from all over the world for stuff nobody understood. It was just kind of fun nonsense.
How did you pay
Um,
yourself? Did you just take money out of the PayPal account and
didn't
spend
we
it?
didn't like we left it in PayPal and bought things on the internet, right? Like,
So this is this a
again,
was this a business or a hobby?
we'll call it a hobby,
Okay.
very much a hobby, but it was a hobby doing nearly six figures a month. So
How did you
like,
like? Did you find it hard to spend all the money?
yeah, I mean, there were seven of us, so we split it up
Yeah.
and got to be really rich on the internet. But at the same time, like I was 16.
Oh
Like I
my
was 10 when we
goodness.
started doing this, 16 when we kind of ran away from it because everything was on fire. And so nothing was actually in our names because none of us were old enough to have accounts. So like there was just looking back on it, I'm like
It's like the wild
the
wild west.
bliss of not knowing what the hell you're doing and not knowing how badly you have like run amok of every possible convention and law and other thing. Like we're lucky we got away with what we did, but it was a hell of a lesson.
As long as I know the
In
statute of limitations have run out, we're okay.
so it's like 20 years ago. Um, at this point, what was interesting looking back on it is just like we learned so much about managing customers and
Yes.
community, and it was like the best economics degree I could ever have
Mm,
gotten.
mm,
And I got paid to do it because we got to watch trends in all these different games, and we were watching releases and updates and like what was going to, when did new events happen, and therefore when was currency going to spike, and so like you
right.
learned so much stuff, which is why I'm such an advocate now. Like gaming is the most powerful teaching medium on the planet when you can channel it properly. If it's just you're just wasting time, whatever, it's a waste of time. But like for learning social dynamics, learning how to manage people, learning how to manage communities, it's insanely powerful.
I also like looking at their product models and their pricing models. You know, like looking at PlayStation 5 and oh, if you pay
Oh yeah.
to get on the beta version, that means by the time the real folks will show up, you already have way more stuff than other people and you're ahead of the game, if you will.
Yep. Oh, and that's like what's fun is that's 20 years after the fact, right? Like, and that's considered a pay to win model where you can pay money to get ahead. This was kind of the pioneering front edge of that, where the first time ever you could, on the black market, spend money to have things that gave you a power advantage in a game or gave you advantages in other ways. And so it's funny. People always had like, I think you opened with like, are you technical? It's like, I learned how to code building guild themes on Neopets because that was how to like
Mhm.
manipulate web
Yeah.
interfaces. And that was my 101 crash course on, oh my God, I can like make the computer do things. And so it's funny. I haven't really touched anything meaningfully technical in 19 years, but I got very, very good at like, okay, here's an opportunity. Who do I need to go find, and how can I team up with people that are good at the technical stuff? And I'll go talk to all the people, and I will figure out the capital and money side,
Right. Perfect.
which
Perfect.
has been a really good pairing for my whole career.
I have to say, when you say this is how you learn about business, I used to say, because I didn't have that experience, I think Frogger was going on then, but back in my teens, but I used to say working at McDonald's because of the systems and the process and
Oh,
just that every 3 months you do this. And if you check these boxes, this is the raise you get. And like, I just, to this day, think it was the best training for how to run
I
a business.
I still use McDonald's model in
Mm,
coaching often
mm,
when people are trying to explain to me why their life is so complicated and why they do what they do is so unique. And we say like if you truly want scale and you're truly trying to build companies that are kind of resilient and can grow, you need to aspire to the McDonald's model where it's like everything you do, like if we were to sit down and say, all right, from scratch, go build a hamburger. You can't go to a grocery store. There's a lot that goes into making that happen,
yeah.
from like all the ingredients and everything. But they've got it down to like such a like supply chain
Mm,
role of like you place the bun, you place pickles this way, you do these things, and like and it's just repeatable and trainable that you can take anyone off the
trackable.
street, plug them into the system, and make it happen.
Well, to take that a little further, let's even talk about sales because obviously I
Yeah,
started on the cash, right? And so they had goals for you. If you were in a rush hour, if you were over lunchtime, this is how much we want you bringing in the till today. Here's how you're
yeah,
going to upsell. Here's the exact order. Once you've put it in, you're going to go collect it and deliver it so that you can actually do it the fastest way possible.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's
Like that level of systemization is phenomenal, and it's possible in so many companies, and so many founders resist it
mm,
so hard
yes,
because they want everything to be unique and special. And it's like as soon as you're that unique and special, one, you don't have great value, and two, like you're just it's not consistent delivery across clients. It's not
right.
easy to train. It's not
And you're
regardless of what
setting
industry
up
you're in. You want that systemization
well, and you are setting up a ceiling in terms of what you're going to
immediately,
earn. Huge.
immediately.
Huge, huge,
Yeah,
huge. Yeah, I think about that a lot. I think
I
some of
love it.
that is like how I have pulled myself out of that because I was in that trap, Graham. I was like, oh, no, if you don't
We have
do it
all
the
been.
way I do it, you're awful and no one's getting any value and da da da. And so finally we have productized and systematized. And how I tell myself is if they follow that, if another advisor came in and followed that, they'll get to the outcome. Will it be the same way I did? No. Will it be the exact same answer? Probably not. But what I've
No.
done is build a platform that the advisor can sprinkle their own magic on it. And I've had to, but that takes time to come to that
Yeah,
realization, right? How do you get
100%.
there?
Pardon?
I mean, we're all over the place here right now, so I'm going to go right into that. How do you help people
I
get
love it.
over that gap with themselves? Because part of it's ego, and part of it is I'm worried if I share my special sauce.
Yeah. So I think honestly, it's not something you can necessarily force people into, right?
Mm,
People have to be at the point of pain where they're willing to reflect on
okay,
why it's not working,
okay.
right? Like if you walk into any small business that has a like their fancy process and they're like, I am a genius for X, Y, Z reasons, whatever. Um, Unless it's really hurting, sitting down and be like, all right, we need to dull this down a little bit and simplify your process so that we can consistently deliver 85-90% of what you do. They're not interested. The point to talk to them is when they're overwhelmed, they have no time in their schedule. When the second something goes sideways, they're the ones that have to fix it or they're drowning in it.
Yeah.
Or they've hit a sales ceiling where it's like, I keep butting up against 500,000 or a million or even 1.5, 2 million. But every time I get there, everything feels chaotic and awful. And then we fall back down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like that's when you can start to have the conversation of like, okay, I get it. I love it.
Yeah.
Your genius has gotten you here. But if you're serious about going to the next level, here are the things we need to start to do to make this happen.
Mm.
One of the other awesome, awful inflection points is sometimes these companies have gotten to the point where they are because they have this like unicorn hire that's just also carrying an inordinate amount of weight.
Hmm.
And then that person quits
Yeah.
or leaves or whatever and everything starts to fall apart and it's like okay like I don't like companies that require unicorn resources to work, right? Like you need them, that's where you need the
Well, you're a
McDonald's model. Like
unicorn
let's
for a
take
reason.
whatever you do
Yeah.
and we need it broken down into three systems that I can train anyone of kind of 70% capability to
Yes.
be successful in that role. And if we can do that, then you have a company that can sail. If you require a 1 in 500 million person, cool. If you're OpenAI's research division and you're paying 50 million a head, great. Build a business that needs unicorns. If you are Sarah's consulting
Yep.
and you have 7 people, you're probably not going to find that person quickly. So that's the time to go look at. how you're actually doing what you're doing.
So, in terms of your journey, so you started out with the currency place, you've done a couple other exits. Give me your top two lessons that you go,
Ooh,
wish I'd known that then about building and selling and transitioning out of a business.
I love it. I think one will resonate with you a lot, which is fundamentals around finance,
Mm,
projections, cash flow, cash management
mm-hmm.
are everything.
Yeah.
If you want to position a company for an exit, you have to have those systems dialed in,
Yeah.
and you have to have the self awareness and ability to be objective to look at them and not buy your own bullshit.
The endowment effect is real.
Oh my god! Like, so the second company we did was a game development company called Rocket Owl. Built the game up over 1 million users, raised a ton of money, and went through every, I think, imaginable mistake, misstep, painful experience you could possibly do,
Yep.
and like collided with them face first.
Oh, good.
And oh yeah, it was
Well, if you're
great.
gonna
It
do
was
something, do it
yeah.
right, Graham.
Oh,
Go
I
right
mean,
in.
I bought hook, line, and sinker into the philosophy of like you go hard and you either explode against the wall or you land on the moon.
Okay.
We kind of landed somewhere with the like debris after the wall, which was like sort of there, but a lot of that came down to this level of ego of like, no, we don't need to pay attention to those things. We will just figure it out. And like
Mm,
for a few years, we just figured it out. But there were things we could have done that would have fundamentally changed the trajectory.
yeah.
And they were things that we got forced to do of get lean, get profitable,
Yeah.
get very intentional that made the final outcome possible. Would have been a lot easier to do that with a large team and a large war chest. Instead, we did it with a
Would
skeleton
it?
crew and no money.
Would it have though, Graham?
Yeah, I say like no, because 22-year-old
It just would have
me,
pushed
full of
out
ego.
the runway, I think.
Yeah, and so like that's one thing. I also I think historically there's been a big trend on like top line revenue is the big thing driving
Mm,
valuation. We've seen over the past few years. Now it's profitability, and one of my favorite things is working with like venture backed or even just growth founders that have had financing in the past and like are always in this conversation about what runway they've got.
yeah.
And when you get them to a place of profitability and then they sit down and like, all right, what's our runway look like? I'm like, infinite. We have
You're self-employed
positive
now?
cash flow.
You got it?
We can now we get to make decisions. We get to choose what level of risk you want to take on and where you want to go. But you have self-sustaining revenue. You are in control. And it's like, oh my God, okay. Now we can do different things. Now we can if we take on capital, we can choose to invest it in certain ways and be very intentional about that. And so like the whole cash side of it, I think
Mm,
is huge. But I think you need to still have a flair for the entrepreneurial risk in your cash management,
yeah.
but not zero. And that's where like I have butted heads with I think almost every CFO I've ever worked with, where that appropriate risk line is, and
Hmm.
it's definitely changed throughout my career, but it's
Has
still
it
on
shortened
the
or increased? Because, when you come from a place of abundance versus not, has it added to your risk taking or removed it?
um. It has removed the level of uncalculated YOLO nonsense risk, the
Okay.
just blind faith risk, a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
The high conviction risk of like, I think the data says we can do this
Yeah.
is probably significantly more. Like when I was a lot younger, I would kind of blind all in just because.
Yeah.
I don't do that as much anymore. But now when we see the right opportunity and we think there's like all of the signs are to move, we'll do a leveraged all in because that makes it just the data makes sense and let's go. So it's changed the risk profile.
Mm. I sometimes find, in particular with founders who have only the one exit, like they've built it, that their risk profile just diminishes so badly because they don't feel like they can take
Do it
anymore,
again.
even though they may have been risky in their business activities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I get it.
yeah,
I get it.
for sure. That was the reason for that question. So, to bring that all back is that now you have this company called FounderLink. You have others as well, but I would like to focus on FounderLink because it feels like what you've done is build a community and a program where all the things you've learned from in the past, I always look at every mistake or every wall hit as my if I get to teach someone else to avoid the wall, then it was worth it. But it feels like you're in that zone, and that's what what you've built to try and help entrepreneurs. You talk about going from 500K to 5 million. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, so FounderLink is funny because it wasn't something I intended to launch. It kind of came about very much unintentionally because we started a series of dinners almost 2 years ago now called Founder Dinners, which was a direct reaction from me getting really frustrated with all the founder events I was going to.
Oh, what was
And every
wrong with
founder
them?
event I would show up to
Yeah.
would be lawyer, banker, insurance broker, accountant,
Yeah.
and then
Not that
every
there's
10
anything
people you'd
wrong with
meet, one founder. Love all of them. But when I'm going to a founder event to meet founders, I don't need 900 service providers
Yeah.
chasing me around because they sponsored it. And
Mm.
mirror that with some of the best things that have happened to me in my entire career have come from meeting incredible people at events that I didn't always intend to go to and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, like, what if we gotten kind of intentional about trying to create awesome rooms that are exciting to be in, that aren't sponsored, that aren't packed with service providers, that aren't kind of the founders of those organizations. And so we started doing a dinner series that was essentially just bring friends together that don't know each other and be like, hey, let's all
That's
go hang
awesome.
out and share food because I think all of you should know each other. We did a few of those and then got feedback of like, hey, we'd love to like stay in touch with each other. How do we connect? And I was like, oh well, like I guess we'll throw together a Slack group and stick everyone in it. And that kind of evolved over the course of 20 plus dinners to a community now of almost 1,000 people in FounderLink and a mission that's become pretty clear
Mm.
around the importance and value of real community for founders.
Yeah.
And historically, these communities have existed. They're phenomenal. There's groups that do them like YPO and Hampton and Founder Club and
Mm.
lots of others. But they're all gated behind 8, 10, $20,000 a year memberships.
Yeah.
It's okay for your more seasoned founders, but for early stage or for those that haven't necessarily been through a community experience before and benefited from it, it's a huge barrier. And so FounderLink was evolved into a community that aspires to kind of offer the same level of peer accountability, events that people can attend, a high level of vetting to get in,
Mm-hmm.
but no upfront cost. And it's been incredible seeing people come together and make connections, the amount of deal flow we've seen go through the community, the
Mm-hmm.
amount of people that have come to the community of like, hey, for the first time ever, I'm being approached about an exit. What do I do? What questions do I ask? How do I navigate this?
Mm-hmm.
Or we're raising capital for the first time.
Right.
Who else has been on the journey? We've got like 7 or 8 that have just raised in the last month. Jump in and be
Mm.
like, hey, here's what we saw. Here's what to look out for. So that's been incredible, and that's been one of the most exciting things I've been able to build to date. Is that, and like a big part of my goal going forward is build the best accessible community of founders around the world
Amazing.
going forward. And we're gonna focus on events and connection for people. And despite running all entirely remote companies, I also really, really, really value bringing people together in person and sharing those in-person connections. And I think there's balance to find between those. So that's kind of the basis of FounderLink.
Well, and I think community is so very important, especially for founders, because depending on how their friend group is or anything else, they may not have anyone that they can talk about these things to because they can't talk about it to the people in their company. So, and depending on their partner in real life,
Oh yeah.
their personal life, they may not have a clue what that all means or be able to provide any context. So I think that's wonderful. Now, there's three things you talk about in there: mindset, strategy, and operational excellence. So I think mindset might be one of the bigger things that actually would feed into the other two. How do you tell me about the mindsets you're seeing out there, and tell me about what are you seeing that we're focused or our minds aren't working the way we need to have them working, if you will.
Yeah, I love that question. It's such a funny topic because it is simultaneously like one of the most tactical, logical, brute force things you can solve for founders and for companies and for individuals, but also so quickly flows into the kind of woo-woo, fluffy,
Hmm.
nonsense, nothing
Yep.
topic, right? Like I'm so big on being hyper specific about goals and targets, being hyper descriptive. I think you and I even had a mini conversation on that a while back of like if you've got this aspirational thing you want to do, get laser focused on it. Like, what
Yeah.
is the number? What is the date? How do you make it happen? Put it out in the universe. And a lot of people are like, oh, like manifestation. I'm like, no, no. Just putting a picture on a wall and reciting a thing is not it. Like, having a tactical, measured, meaningful goal that you can go after, that you can do the work back, that you can build a spreadsheet on, for me, that's a big piece. The other thing that I think, other things, is most of us put these weird arbitrary limitations on what we think we can or can't do in our
Mm,
businesses,
yep.
informed potentially by the experience that we have and the people we know. And one of the biggest unlocks you can ever get is get in rooms with people who are doing bigger things.
Yeah.
And
Seeing it's possible in
two
action.
two examples that I've lived that are so real for me and were so interesting to get to kind of observe in person. And I've lived through these myself, but about a year ago I was working with a friend of mine, insanely successful entrepreneur,
Hmm.
multi eight figure exit on his second company, building, and was heading into a big raise and like a really big ambitious phase for their company. And we were chatting, and he was really really struggling with belief and conviction that it was possible, that he
Okay.
could even go after the numbers. And we took a step back and actually looked at his calendar for the last 2 months. And 2 months leading up to that conversation, he had been attending a ton of early stage events where he had been the keynote speaker, where he'd been in rooms, and like every room he's in, every single person there was looking at him like, "Oh my God, we can't believe what you've accomplished. What you've done already is unbelievable." And everyone looking at him with awe, and he's trying to aim bigger and better on the next thing, and yet surrounded by people who can barely believe he did what he did. And it's like all of a sudden he's doubting it's possible. He's worried about it, and it's like you are surrounded by people that don't know how to do what you did, let alone
What you're going to do
believe the
next.
thing that you're going to do next. As like we need to flip your schedule. We need to get you in rooms with people that are like 10 steps ahead of you, that have done IPOs, that have done bigger things. Did that 3 weeks later. He spent a bunch of time with people that were 9, 10 figure exited rooms and just talking bigger numbers, bigger plays, everything is possible. And the entire energy and mindset changed. And it was like it went from feeling impossible to feeling like, oh yeah, no, this is obvious.
Mm.
And I think so often we put those limitations on ourselves. I was guilty myself. 2 years ago, I sat down for lunch with a friend of mine. I pitched him the idea. I was like, I'm going to launch a podcast about how to get to 10 million because I was like, I know how to do that, and I think it's really cool content. And he just kind of looked at me cockeyed, and he's like, okay, if you want, but like, why not do it about 100 million and get really cool guests, and you'll learn, and set that as the expectation. I was like, what? He's like, and this is a friend that like IPO'd a company,
Yeah.
has more than 9 figures in boats, let alone
Right.
anything else. And it was like I was like I don't think that's. I hadn't even thought of that. He's like, well, aim bigger. Like don't just set the ceiling for yourself. Set bigger targets. And it was a good reminder in that moment of like, yeah, no, I am around the wrong people right now because I'm again a little bit like my friend. I've been keynoting at a bunch of things. I've been talking about a bunch of groups, and it was like I'm the aspirational person. I need to flip this script and get into rooms where I am the least qualified person possible. And that actually fed into how we structure the dinners because we always aim for the dinners to be half the group is exited or late stage because I want
Mm.
the majority of those dinners and those communities to be people that are helping elevate and set higher standards for people and for each other versus dinners I've been to where it's like 30 early stage people where everyone's just like, oh my God, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Be
anyway,
one of you people who
those are the big
have
ones.
I love that. I've been reading some of Ben Hardy's scaling, and the idea of going from linear goals to impossible goals, which then reset your head in terms of how you're going to achieve it.
10x is easier than 2x.
It really is. Totally agree with that. Okay.
Genuinely.
That is awesome. Now, the mindset piece, yeah, it's so funny how people show that too. I was coaching someone on their numbers, and every time I was talking to them about their numbers, they're like, "Yeah, but," because I'm like, "You need sales to be this," and she would go, "Well, what if we cut expenses?" And I'm like, "Okay, you after a couple of times of that, I'm like, you need to go talk to your coach because you have a block about selling. So you need to go sell some stuff. I can't help you with that part." So anyway, it was just how people show and what they say. It's so true. And I think of our mindset a little bit like Intel inside. It's running how we think about things, but we don't even know it's there.
Oh yeah.
So
And
how do we at least surface it so we understand what are the subconscious patterns and thoughts that are driving some of our decisions and we're not even aware of it?
yeah. Like that's why peer groups, coaches, mentors, all of that is so important. You need people that can call you on it
Mm-hmm.
and have done the thing you're trying to do before and can show you that it's possible. Because like there's so much that we fundamentally believe is impossible until we see someone do it and then it's easy.
I was in strategic coach for years, and we had to do this exercise of going ahead 20 years. Okay. And so, what I found fascinating about that is by going that far ahead, it released the how,
Yeah.
right? Because I think if we only do a 3-year strategic plan, or if we only do a 5-year, we're so consumed with whether we can actually do the thing versus what is a possible goal and then working our way backwards type of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah. What is the number one mistake entrepreneurs are making in strategy right now?
Ooh. Strategy. That's a good question. I think the two. I'm going to cheat and say two.
Okay.
Two things that entrepreneurs are never doing enough of in strategy
Mm-hmm.
is preserving and protecting time around outbound sales.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So many people don't invest and or have come from a climate where you didn't need to do outbound sales and business development and do not have organizations that handle economic uncertainty well.
Mm.
And the other is integrating and challenging around AI, which I think is a double-edged sword right now
Yeah.
because I think AI is not at the stage that matches the hype. It's not
Mm.
replacing roles as fast or as reliably as people think it is.
Yeah.
However, having your team properly using AI is increasing individual output and efficiency 20 to 50% per role. And there is no role, part, or corner of your company where that is not true. And so if you don't have a team that is all in on that and you are not creating time and space to experiment with it, I think that is a massive miss from a strategic standpoint.
How do you compare and contrast the talk around working in your business, working on your business? Like, if we're working on sales and we're working on AI, is that in or on?
On.
Okay.
Fundamentally on. I think because when we go back to the question of how do you build businesses that can be saleable, right?
Mm.
Ultimately, the most valuable thing you can do in your company to make it a saleable asset is you not be a dependent piece of any of the delivery.
Exactly.
If a customer can come through the front door and leave however long later with full delivery and happy, and you have not touched it, you've done a good job.
Absolutely.
Any point in that process where you have to interact or move things forward or play a part is an area where you need to be focusing on pulling yourself out and building systems and training people to do the delivery. After that, when we talk about sales and AI, you have to be out of the weeds to be able to look at the functions and go, okay, where do I believe AI can help accelerate this? On the sales side, it's not about you going and knocking on doors, although if you're small enough, that is kind of the job. But it's about like, do we have an engine? Have we created a system where if I put in money and effort on this side, I reliably get sales and results out the other side? And most companies never do this.
If you can do that, the world's your oyster.
Well, so and
Then
you
you
can do
control.
that
Then you control
whether or
your sales.
not you commit to figuring it out. Like that, I don't know if you've heard the trendy, like it's a skill issue. I promise you, if you don't have that engine in your business, it's a skill issue.
Okay.
That can be done for any company. Full stop, period, non negotiable. It can be done.
Sweet.
It's one of the most important things to figure out. It's one of the things most people avoid figuring out.
Why?
It's scary.
Why is it scary? Tell me more.
It is it's rejection. It is absolute, unmitigated, complete rejection. And for a lot of people that are really good at delivery, they're really good at doing the thing. They're not great at how do I get my message out there? How do I get known? How do I get discovered? How do I put myself out there in a vulnerable position on social, in marketing, in advertising, in cold calling, and tell people what I do and have 80% of them tell me, no, go away, I don't want to hear from you. 20% say that's interesting, and then 10% of them become customers. Like
Right.
that is scary and intimidating. And so most people would rather be like, yeah, I'll deal with the one customer a month and like I'll do a really good job for them and I'll feel safe and I'll make some money. It's like, cool, if that's the thing. But if at the same time you sit down and go, I want to grow,
Mm.
cool. Then commit to growing. But most people don't
And
want to do
push
that.
yourself into the mindset there you have to do, right? It's
Yeah.
a little bit like if you do it enough times, you get the confidence and get the courage, build the confidence, and then you'll have the capability.
Yep.
That's
Uh,
also a Dan Sullivan thing.
have you ever done cold calling?
What's that?
Have you ever done cold calling?
Yes.
I'm sure you lived through this, but there's this funny journey you watch people go through when if you push them into doing cold calling to build their business, where it's like the first 50 calls, they're like, please don't pick up, please don't pick up, please don't pick up, please don't pick up, and then by the 51st, they're like, please pick up, somebody pick up, I just need to try, and then by the 500th, they're like, this is easy, I will do an hour of this every day,
Mm,
no problem, it just works, and
yeah.
it's one of the least scalable things, but
Mhm.
it is one of the easiest ways to brute force build your first million in revenue.
Interesting. That's awesome. Graham, this has been amazing. What haven't I asked you about the entrepreneurship founder success track that I should have?
I think the only fun topic that we can touch on is potentially the debate between remote and in person,
Ooh,
which is always
where do you
always a good one.
stand? Where do you stand on that one?
Because I love in person for events, I love in person for companies, and I love remote for companies. And I fundamentally think people get a little too hung up on the value of in person
Mm.
relative to the lift in caliber of people. And so my general
Ooh,
thesis there
yeah,
is if you are a massive, well known, highly established, highly competitive company, in person is better because you can attract and literally move the talent you need to you
yeah,
to build the best team on earth.
yep.
If you are not that, then the level up tier you get from access to better talent by being fully remote exceeds the collaborative benefit of being in person. Because if you can get 10 A players
Mm.
remotely working together, that team, in my opinion, will outperform 10 B players in your city that can commute to whatever building you've bought. And so
I
for me,
I'd like to layer
that's
on a
the
little bit
thesis.
too because I think
Please.
when I think about cold calling, so I didn't necessarily 100% whole all the time, but I did have a job where I did telephone sales. So from
Okay.
Halifax, I sold stuff across Canada and across the US on the phone.
Love
So
it.
what was interesting is that I did enough of it that I could actually you could call I could you would pick up the phone and I could immediately tell your mood just by how you said hello, right? And so I think building collaborative teams virtually is 100% possible. We just haven't built the muscle yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know what industry has?
No, what?
Gaming,
Oh my God, yeah, because they have the
right?
headsets on, they're talking to each
I say,
other.
like everyone in my entire life that's been like, you can't do this remote. I was like, I have corralled 40 dysfunctional adults from around the world with kids screaming,
Yep.
chaos going on to stay focused for 4 hours a night, every night, to accomplish insane real time tasks. Everyone's got a job to do, everyone has to know what's going on. We figured that out
Yeah.
in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I promise you can figure out 6 people on a marketing team to collaborate on some creative. Like, it's doable. Most people don't want to invest in the tools and the time to do it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. How do people get a hold of you, Graham?
Graham Barlow on all socials, grahambarlow.com or iversoft.ca.
Oh, sweet. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Graham. I think the real bottom line here is uh, you need community. You need
Yes.
community to be able to expand your mind to see what is possible. Thank you again.
Amazing. Wendy, thank you.